Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as my excitement for the NBA season, my friend. It is upon us. We are getting preseason games tomorrow. Let's go.
It's finally here. We've waited weeks, we've waited months, we had the whole offseason to deal with, but finally we got a game. I mean, it is Wizards versus Warriors tomorrow. So it's not amazing, but hey, at least it's a game of basketball.
It's something, man. It's something to talk about. We're out here reviewing divisions, trying to stretch as much content as we possibly can. And now we're gonna actually have stuff to really talk about. We took last week off. You were at a wedding, so let's go back to Euro basketball, man, because we were still talking about it, and our teams got eliminated. All the boys. Who would have thought that Bo Cruz is gonna win Finals MVP over a guy like Giannis, Luka, or Nikola Jokic, man?
People were so
Not me.
surprised when the three gods kind of fell out of that tournament. And for Spain to win this tournament after all of their old guard has basically retired and moved on. Shout out to Sergio Scariolo, the legend himself, Raptors assistant coach. But yeah, Bo Cruz, the man put up 27 points on, I'm sorry, 7 of 9 for 3 to win that game. Like, absolutely legendary performance from a new Raptor. Hopefully he can continue it going into the rest of the season.
Dude, that's the most exciting part for me, man. 7 of 9 on threes. Like, that is some really, really good stuff for us because at the end of the day, that's what our team was really lacking last year. Is just that consistent guy. I was watching the media day stuff, and Bobby Webster, he calls it that release valve. Just a
Yeah,
guy that is going to hit the three when you get him open. And that's what we have, I think, in Otto Porter Jr. and in Hertzner Gomez. So, hopefully they pan out, but hey, man, I'm getting ahead of myself here,
yeah, we're gonna break it down more and see if these guys are gonna be the next Svi Mikhailuk, the next Matt Thomas. But again, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. So,
bro. Don't even say
anything
that.
else from media day that was exciting for you? I thought it was pretty hilarious the way that the Lakers are trying to come together. Pat Bev being his classic self. Jimmy Butler trolling everybody with his curls. But at least all the boys are back in the gym working out.
Hey, man, it's just nice to have the whole NBA season kind of starting up. Everybody's back. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny, Jimmy showing up like that. Some people were calling him like the Pokemon evolution of Anthony Edwards, which I thought was hilarious. Um, but yeah, there's some good stuff, but it's the ultimate optimism season right now, right? Nobody's actually played a game. No, everyone's 100% healthy. Everybody's lost weight. Everybody's put on muscle. Everybody, is in the best shape of their life. And we're about to have, 30 teams that win 50 games, right?
Yeah, that's the
That's kind of where
hope.
we're at this point.
Everybody wants it, right? There's a lot of positivity around the league, except for in one place. There's one place that has a bit of doom and gloom, and that's the Phoenix Suns. Nobody looks amazingly happy. DeAndre Ayton looks absolutely checked out. He looks like he is waiting for a January trade to come. But all of this to do with the fact that, Sarver is actually selling the team. They've pushed him out. An interesting situation turned into hopefully a good thing down the line.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. I mean, last time we talked about it, I didn't think that they'd be able to push him out. But hey, they figured out a way to get him to sell that team, and it's probably the right decision with his track record. It's just like crazy to think that this man was in the NBA for that long and allowed to do this kind of stuff. So, hey, whatever, he's out now, man. So good and gone, right? Good riddance. Nobody
I
cares.
mean, exactly. And I mean, I'm not even going to speculate on who the owner's going to be to take over this team. There's, a couple of billionaires everyone's talking about, blah, blah, blah. Not the point. The interesting thing for me is the fact that, DeAndre Ayton looks so checked out. Even Chris Paul does not look happy. Jay Crowder is requesting a trade. The Phoenix Suns window might officially be closed. Unless Devin Booker can actually have an MVP season that the world seems to think he's capable of, it's not looking good in Phoenix.
Bro, he is not an MVP caliber player. As much as I like Devin Booker and I think he's like an all NBA caliber player, I think there's a distinct difference between being an MVP guy and being all NBA. And I think last year, a lot of the MVP vote that he got was based on the fact that they were the number one team in the NBA, that they were this juggernaut. But when you think about the Phoenix Suns winning, I don't necessarily make it synonymous with Booker. It's more synonymous with CP3 for me. Personally, like, what had they done before he got there? and they had Devin Booker, who had scored 72 points in a game. So it's not like he was bad. He's just not an MVP caliber player to me. All NBA, cool, but yeah, man, the Suns, I don't think they're gonna explode this year.
My favorite storyline is that the Phoenix Suns were like speed running their way from a rebuild all the way to contender, and it seems that they're speed running their way back to the other end, going from contender to potentially back down. Because if Aiden wants out, if Booker can't be who he wants to be, CP3's only getting older, who knows what could happen with this roster and this team.
Yeah, and man, it's so funny because do you ever watch Pardon the Interruption with Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser? And Wilbon has a house in Arizona, and he's always been on the Phoenix Suns. I remember he's always like, when they got Devin Booker, they're 2 years away from being competitive, and he would constantly say that on the show. And they never actually were competitive. So your comment about a quick rebuild, man. Only when CP3 got there did they fast track that thing, because that thing was a slow burner for a while. Jeez.
The quick rebuild comes out of the idea that before the NBA bubble, they were irrelevant. And they won all those games, and then all of a sudden they were legit now. So they seem to come out of nowhere and just, like a hot flaming sun, they're going to dissipate eventually in the future. But I think that's enough for Phoenix in my mind. We can roll over Anthony Edwards. We don't really need to talk about him besides the fact that, nobody seems to care anymore. And, hopefully something will come out of this situation, but the guy seems to have forgotten that he made some poor comments.
Yeah, man. Look, $40,000 means nothing to this guy. It's sad to see that the NBA kind of has a double standard way that they treat people. I think that the anti-Semitic comments, racial comments, homophobic comments, anything like that, like you should be suspended a month. Like it should be you lose game time, you lose game checks, because we just can't have that, man. And it needs to be a serious punishment. If we're going to hold people to standards, we got to hold everyone to these standards, and we got to make sure that we root it out. Because if you allow some people to use it, it's going to creep back into the game. So you don't want that.
No, exactly. Sure. Whether it's community service or something, hopefully it just doesn't get brushed under the rug, because if it gets brushed under the rug, you get a situation where somebody like Sarver, who's in charge of a team for 13, 14,
way
15.
Too long.
Exactly, right? So hopefully more comes out of it, but it's kind of the end of the situation now. We can move on. I want to touch on the CBA real quick, because there's a conversation going on about trying to get the draft age to get back down to 18,
Yep.
Maybe get rid of that one and done rule. The reason I think it's hilarious is because if it happens, it lines up perfectly with LeBron's free agency for Bronny to go straight to the NBA if he wants. It's the classic LeBron story every time.
Hey, man. Honestly, I think that they should allow that option for young kids to enter the draft right out of high school. Honestly, sometimes it might produce more of a bust potential anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really up to each kid on how they want to proceed. If they feel that they're ready for the NBA, it's not a bad place to go and get drafted and be on a professional team and play in the G League. And that way you don't have to go to the Ignite, even though the Ignite still a pretty good team, man. They do well, they get paid.
Pretty success, yeah.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I think it's a good option. But how many one and done players have really made amazing impacts in the NBA? I think you can count them in at least one hand, two hands, most.
And there's a lot of, I don't know a ton about, college ball. We pay attention to as much as we do over here. But when it comes down to it, I'm sure that there are a ton of schools that are one and done program schools, which, isn't the best idea if you want to really create success. So, I say that, meanwhile, the Blue Devils and, Coach K and what they achieved all the years with their one and done talents.
Yeah, well, I think in college basketball specifically, you have to have the appropriate amount of talent around you in order to facilitate that one and done being the kind of superstar that you need to put you over the top, right? And if you get the right one and done talent, they do put you over the top. So,
a certain Zion Williamson, who they should have won that. I got to bring him up real quick before we talk about one thing and get into the Atlantic, because I know
Michigan
Matt.
State game.
And sad times, bringing back the memories. But
Bro.
The kid looks ready. Him and CJ look really excited. I know we talked about them a while ago, but I can't not bring up the Pelicans for Matt today. They look ready to go.
Dude. I said it last year. They're going to shock some teams. They're definitely shocking some teams this year. I don't even know if they're shocking teams. They're just going to outright beat teams. And I think Zion at the 13th best odds to win the MVP at plus 3,500. I might throw $100 down, man. That was pretty good return.
It's never bad, and I think Am I correct in saying that CJ McCollum has never been an All-Star? Am I correct in saying that? Because I
I
feel like
think you
it's
are.
true, and for somebody like him who has averaged 20 points for the past like 6 years and been the player that he has been, I'm excited for Zion to come back and potentially see more of what that dynamic duo can do together. And let's not even forget Brandon Ingram still is there.
Bro, I just don't think he has the opportunity to make the All-Star game with like all the
Yeah,
guards out there. Because like, oh, you mentioned Devin Booker, then you got to talk about Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's always in that category. There's John Morant. There's so many guards out west. CP3, like I'm missing
Drew
so
Holiday,
many.
even if you want to talk
Used to be,
defense,
yeah, yeah.
right?
He's out
Like,
east though now.
but oh, yeah,
The guy on
right.
his own team,
Drew,
Damian Lillard, man, had kept him off that team for years. Like, so I feel bad for CJ, but like, he's definitely worthy of an All-Star selection.
that's the reason why I brought it up because I'm thinking about just like the talent level that it seems like the New Orleans Pelicans have slowly brought together to make work. And if Zion has a healthy season, man, guns blazing for this squad for sure.
Bro, they're gonna be Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. We could see them come out of the West and be that storied new franchise like Memphis has become. Great idea. Him and John Zion getting their due beside each other would be pretty fun. I can't lie.
Yeah, buddy, it would be a great, great, great story. Uh,
So
it's gonna happen. You know it's gonna happen.
the main reason I brought up the Pelicans because I wanted to try to come up with this fun little segue over here because it's time to talk about Lonzo Ball. Used to be on the Pelicans, a guy that they would have loved to have, but maybe it's
Horrible
looking
segue.
like horrible segue, horrible, just kill me. But it looks like maybe the Pelicans made the right decision because Lonzo, as it stands, himself says he can't run, he can't jump. This injury that doctors can't seem to figure out is not looking good for the Chicago Bulls.
Dude, it looks bad. Like he's a very, very integral part of that defense and the way that they play basketball. To lose him for a full year is going to be catastrophic for their team, and it's going to really, really affect the way that they play. And I feel horrible for him because his whole career's been marred by injury.
Yeah.
He had a lot of promise, compared to Jason Kidd originally, won Summer League MVP, came close to like averaging a triple double in his first season in terms of rebounds and assists and points. Like, yeah, I think he averaged like 9, 9, and 9 or something, somewhere around there. Like he had potential, and it's kind of been drained away from him, sadly. So it's really sad to see, man. Just feel for the guy.
Right? And Chicago Bulls and point guards. It's a rough world out there for Chicago fans. So, I have hope for DeMar. We love DeMar over here, but when you look at this roster and what they're gonna have to pull together with this Lonzo injury, like, we were joking about Goran Dragic getting signed. Like, it makes more sense now that they've signed him because he's a guy who wants to have starter minutes. Looks like it's going to be available for him. But, I mean, we talked about the Bulls a few weeks ago. I don't want to get too far into it, but, like, it's sad for Lonzo.
Man, it's brutal, and if he can't walk on it at the moment, like it's not looking good. I
Not at all, my friend. Okay, so Atlantic time. We've made it the last
Thank you.
division. We've talked for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we've gotten to the one that we always want to talk about. We save it for last every time. As usual, Matt, I'll give you the board. Choose any of the 4 teams not named the Raptors.
Hey man, I think we should start with the team that probably looks the best on paper if a certain someone can return to form. And apparently James Harden's lost 25 pounds. He's in the best shape of his life. The man is more explosive than he was when he was averaging 36 points a game. So pencil in the 76ers in the finals right now, or what?
I mean, you'd think, right? Like, Joel Embiid wants it. He's been snubbed for MVP multiple years. It looks like they made some great pickups over here with PJ Tucker and Montrez. Like, it might be Philly's time to finally break through.
Dude, their roster without what's his name? Niang, they're 9 deep. And he was having to play integral minutes for them in the playoff series that they played us. That's the scariest part to me, is that they added DeAnthony Melton from Memphis, Daniel House. I like their draft pick of Julian Champagnie. I'm a big fan of Justin. They didn't lose too much either, like DeAndre Jordan, whatever, Danny Green, whatever. I think they replaced him very, very adequately with DeAnthony Melton. And then you add PJ Tucker and Montrezl Harrell, and it's a squad, man.
Oh yeah.
They seem like they could really, really do some damage. I've been high on them for the last few years. I know they got rid of Ben Simmons, but if James Harden plays MVP caliber, like this is a 70-win team to me.
Yeah, I mean, James Harden looks to be in the right mood. He's joking that he's lost 100 pounds to the media when they're asking him. So it looks like the guys are locked in with the right mindset. And if Tyrese Maxey can continue to take the steps that he's been taking the past few years when he's had to, that's just another piece to add around a dominant big man and what we've seen in the past, one of the best ball handling shooters that the NBA has seen. The Rockets never missed the playoffs when they had James Harden. And so
No.
it's looking like it's Philly's time. I can't be excited about it, obviously. I'm still hurt for Danny Green, who basically got destroyed by Joel in last year's playoffs. He's been shooting threes in the gym, though, so, go Danny, I'm pumped for you. But when it comes to Philadelphia, man, like, I have to be in a little bit of pain because I never want to see success for one of our rivals, but they look like the team to beat, for sure.
Dude, it pains me to say that they're good, and I hate saying that they're good, but they are, and then they're going to be a deep squad for us to contend with. They're going to push the pace. The only thing that I can see for the Raptors to kind of finish ahead of them in the standings is maybe an injury here or there, and we get healthy, and maybe some extra development from Scotty and some other places. But
Yeah,
hey, man, like this squad, like you said, Tyrese Maxey stepping it up. If Matisse Thybulle can hit a shot, like they're going to be a better
honestly.
team. So
Ugh.
the 76ers are a scary, scary team, man, especially after last year. And Joel Embiid hasn't been snubbed, man. He's had just lost out. He's had spectacular seasons, all-time seasons, definitely MVP worthy seasons. But when people are outdoing you, they're outdoing you. Like it's not
I,
his fault.
I don't disagree, man. I gotta correct myself a little bit. In his mind, in his world, he feels he's been snubbed, so he might come out swinging that way. That's where I was trying to go with my message there. But yeah, man, Philly looks primed and ready to go, and they're the team that I wouldn't want to face as the Raptors, right? You look at the rest of these teams in this division, and they've all kind of got their own issues, and well, each team has a big question mark on whether they can, hit that next stage, hit that next hump. I think Philadelphia, it's James Harden. It's really just James Harden. Everyone else seems to be lined up. So if James Harden gets set up, that question mark is gone for this team.
Yeah, man. And I think the question mark is how are they going to respond on defense? And are they going to play a high enough level of defense to be a championship caliber roster? The
Yeah.
offense is there, man. With Tobias Harris being your fourth option, and then Montrezl Harrell giving you minutes off the bench, PJ Tucker giving you minutes off the bench. It allows Joel Embiid to not have to worry about it. I think they should be fine defensively. Because I think PJ and Montrez really add to that, and they can switch to defensive lineups. It'll just be whether or not they'll have either fully defensive units or fully offensive units, and whether they can meld them together enough to really stay on the court and have a positive effect at both ends. Because I can see like having players on for just defense and just offense with this roster.
They've got a lot of rotational synergies that may not mesh well, and you're right there. It's going to be both sides of the coin, and it's going to be up to Doc. Doc's got to figure out this roster. Another opportunity for Doc Rivers to have an absolutely stellar lineup and see if he can take it all the way. Will it happen? Time will tell with this squad, my friend.
Yeah, man, we'll find out at the end of the year. But count me as somebody who thinks they'll probably make at least the second round of the playoffs, and they should be a top 3 seed in the NBA
I mean, I
or
can't.
in the Eastern Conference. Sorry,
I
Eastern
mean, yeah,
Conference.
it's hard for sure to be top three overall, but if they're fully healthy, I could see it honestly. Like when you think about the possibility of injuries or teams not coming together, right? Like in this division, you'd say the Nets are probably their biggest rival at the top. Yeah, we go with that, and
Yeah, I that in Boston. But if you want to get into Boston, man, we can talk about the black cloud that's swirling around them and why I'm kind of down on them this year. Obviously, they went to the NBA Finals. They looked phenomenal. We both thought they were going to win the NBA Finals. I thought they had a much better team than Golden State. They just didn't show up. But at this point, with Ime Udoka and all of that that's going on, with a new coach having to come in and now being a new voice, are they wasting a year of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
That seems to be the conversation that everyone wants to talk about right now. To go from being, the Eastern Conference champions, the team that everyone thinks is going to make that step to finally get over the hump and then falling flat against Golden State, you'd think that they were just going to, pack it all up, bring it together, move on to the next season and rinse and repeat for success. And that's not going to happen because obviously this cloud is a big deal. The staff has gone to the players and basically said, yeah, he's suspended for a year. Don't ask anymore. We're not talking about it. There is something amiss that, you and I don't understand. The players don't understand. There is something else going on here. And whether it's malicious or not, it's going to affect the players and the way they play basketball. So is it a wasted season? I'm not going to say so yet because there is a ton of talent. And, Jason Tatum is an MVP caliber player at his best. He's proven he's a 16-game player at least. We saw him take over. And let's not even talk about how Jaylen Brown was absolutely murdering fools in the playoffs. So is it a wasted season? I'm going to say no. But at the same time, you think about what happened last year, how they rolled out of the gate and were trash. That happens this year, it's a wasted season for sure.
Well, we'll see how they start and we'll see how it all comes together. They should have a lot more confidence in their ability after going to the finals, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Jaylen Brown, I think, proved to me out of everyone on that roster that he elevates the most in those kinds of situations, in the pressure packed points. And Tatum maybe needs to kind of figure that out a little bit more. He kind of fizzled in that finals. But at the end of the day, like, having two guys who are all NBA caliber players, because that's what they are, having a center in Robert Williams who can do what he does. Now, I know he's hurt to start the season, which is not great news for them.
Yeah.
But, hopefully he can come back and be fine and they can keep going. But, like, adding Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, like, they have a solid team up and down. And it's just like we'll see if they can get the most out of them through the coaching staff, and like they should. Like, you have great players, so it should be easy, right? Most people think coaching doesn't really affect how many games you win, but we'll see. It'll be proven this year.
Absolutely. They did pick up Danilo, which I was like, hey, that's not the best decision, but hey, he's injured. I forget what his injury is, but he's not going to be playing. So, good work, Celtics. I guess that works
MTL.
out for you. Yeah, okay. So thank you. I appreciate that you know that. Poor guy. But yeah, so the Boston's in a weird situation. There's no real way to put it. At the end of the day, there is a cloud hanging over the organization, and whether that affects the players aggressively or if they can come out and bond together as a locker room that is outside of the rest of the organization. If I forget who the assistant coach who's taking over, but I know that Boston is scrambling to try to get a couple of more members for his staff. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a big speed bump for these guys to do, but they've been quote unquote Eastern contenders for the past 4 or 5 years with this rebuild now, so they might have the mental power as players to get over it, but we're just gonna have to see.
It's a huge question mark. The crazy thing about the whole story to me is that, everyone's saying that this happens regularly in the NBA, that, guys engage in extramarital affairs with people on the staff on a consistent basis. And look, I'm not here to tell people what they can and can't do in their private lives. But the severity to which they are punishing him and the way that it's happening is very interesting to think that if it does happen on a consistent basis, why are they going and taking this step? Why are we learning about it? Why have they suspended him for the full year? Why is his future still in limbo after the full year? They could move to fire him fully at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting situation, and to waste that year over a mistake, a silly affair like that should really have no bearing on basketball. I think it's kind of crazy, man. It's a crazy situation, and I think that's going to mess with the players a lot more too. Is the daily questioning about it, the daily, they struggle. People are going to ask about the coach, and then they're going to have questions about it. It's just going to be a circus, man. And as a Raptors fan, all the better for us. You know.
Yeah, we can't be that upset at the end of the day when it comes down to it because, we don't want to cheer for other teams in this division. It is how it is. But when it comes to Boston, they're in a weird situation. I mean, we touched on Time Lord really quickly, the whole situation with him in the playoffs last year, how the medical staff maybe said this, maybe they said that, and regardless of the outcome, he's now going under the knife. He's had surgery, and he's going to be out for, I'm pretty sure, at least 8 to 10 weeks, as far as I remember correctly.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 months too, just over. And you know what's really funny is that when he was playing on that injury, that Isaiah Thomas was tweeting that, he had heard before from the Boston medical staff that he could play on an injury and it wouldn't get worse. And it basically cost him his career.
Yeah.
And now it might happen to Time Lord again. And I get the urgency of the finals. Like, don't get me wrong. I get that they had a chance to take home an NBA title, which is one of the hardest things to do, and something that all 32 teams set out to do at the beginning of the year. And you
Yeah,
were
exactly.
right there, right? And you need Time Lord to get it done. But you're jeopardizing the future of your whole franchise, man. Like, Time Lord's young. He could fit into this core for the next 4 years. You might get 4 or 5 kicks at this thing. And if you lose him, this could be your only one.
Well, he's
And so,
imperative. Every time that one of the main guys had to set up for the Celtics, he's been there. He has been a rock for their center position. So I agree with you completely.
yeah, and if they lose him, like let's say this affects his whole career and he's never the same player, that's going to really dampen their championship expectations. That, yes, you need your number one, you need your Jason Tatum, you need a Robin and Jaylen Brown, but you also need integral role players, and he's a massive part of this team. And to have this issue, man, like, it's just bad on the Celtics franchise. Like, they look so bad with the Ime story and this story. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
is just, hey guys, if you know what, you want to play for a really great Eastern Conference team that has storied franchise, come, we might not be storied, but we will be. Trust.
We're working our way up there, but yeah, when it comes to Boston, it's not good. It's really just not good right now, and we're gonna monitor this situation. We're gonna see what happens, and we talked about how important Williams is, but I gotta shout out the other Williams on that squad. He was
Oh,
big.
Grant.
Exactly, Grant was fantastic for them as well. So hopefully he can step up to the start of the season and help this team. But dark times for Celtics fans in this moment.
And bro, we didn't even really talk about Malcolm Brogdon, which I think is a huge get for this roster.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
just like their roster's great. It's just, can they come together as a squad? And that's something that I'm really liking about our media availability and everything. Is like everything that's coming out is the continuity between all the players, the fact that we know each other, the fact that we've been here. You know who's been there for a while now? Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and they've done nothing with the Nets, man. Absolutely nothing over the 2 years. I mean, maybe you could say they were half a shoe size away from an NBA championship,
You could say.
but
You could say.
this is the worst that their prospects have looked in the last 3 years. I mean, nobody's picking them to go to the NBA Finals. Nobody's picking them as the Eastern Conference favorites. People think Kevin Durant's going to get traded midseason potentially. Is this actually the time that they win? Because I'm feeling like it might be the time that they win.
The underdog, the underrated situation for the Nets seems to be good. Everyone has averted their gaze from the team, and all of a sudden Ben Simmons has come out of hiding, and he's like, I could play basketball again. Let's do this. The pressure seems to be off, which is crazy when you think that, a top 10 player in the NBA literally tried to get the coach fired from this team, what, 2 months ago? It
Yeah,
seemingly
bro.
it seems to have
Top
all turned
three.
around, right? I'm being generous. I know he's definitely one of the best players in the NBA by far, and Kyrie flat earther man doing what he does. But yeah, this team on paper is poised to be legit. They still have Seth Curry. Joe Harris, I think, is not injured anymore. Is ready to start shooting basketball. Patty Mills is there. Like, there is good talent across this team. They just have to get their chemistry together, and Steve Nash has to step up and coach.
Yeah, he's really got to coach this team because shooting is such a premium in the NBA. It is honestly what makes teams amazing. And not only do they have two of the best superstars who are known to be shooters. I mean, you could maybe say Kyrie's a little bit more of a finisher, but the guy can shoot the lights out too. Kevin Durant is one of the best shooters, has one of the most unguardable shots that we've ever seen in the NBA.
By far.
And then if you take just the role players, if you think about the two best role playing shooting three players in the NBA, it's, if you're looking for just threes, it's Seth
Seth
Curry
Curry.
and Joe Harris. They got both of those guys. Now, are like this team. I know I was saying Philadelphia might have some issues on defense, and like really they might, but I don't see it too heavily. This team has issues on defense. I mean, TJ Warren isn't even playing, is he?
Nope, they just recently came out that he's got an injury, so he's going to be missing some time. It's definitely the start of the season. I don't think it's going to be a ton, but we all miss
Bro missed
Bubble
all of
Warren.
last year, did he not?
He did indeed. Yep.
Like, come on, man! You haven't played in a year, and now you're already hurt again. Like, what are you, glass? Like to me,
I was gonna say he sold his soul to the devil so he could have his Bubble Warren performance. That's the only chance. But before you go on, I have to at least bring up one name. You're concerned about defense. They picked up Royce O'Neal from the Jazz.
Dude, I was gonna get to Royce O'Neal. He doesn't even add anything to this team, man. He's just a big man. Like, okay, great. Like, Nick Claxton probably gonna start over him. And like, are we saying Nick Claxton is like a difference maker on a championship team? No. So like, it's they definitely have a shot, man. Like
Absolutely.
Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, you got a shot. That shooting. They're going to have to make some moves to shore up this roster. I like the Markieff Morris signing.
Yep.
I really like the TJ Warren thing. I thought he was going to be good for this squad, but not having him is going to be bad. Losing Bruce Brown, who's probably one of their better players last year, which is like kind of sad.
Wasn't he not the second best player in the playoffs for them? Let's be honest here.
Well, like, so like you think about all the names that they lost, like Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin. The biggest impact is going to be Bruce Brown. Yep. Like out of all of those names, it's going to be Bruce Brown. And like, hey man, we'll see. Steve Nash has shown nothing as a coach. He's shown that he's getting pushed over by these guys, and that is not how you run an NBA team. I truly believe coaches have a massive impact on the ability to get the best out of their players. And he has shown that not only does he not get the best, he might put them into a worse position.
It's definitely a tough situation to come in and be your first coaching job with the pressure that he had and with the players that he had. Sure, right? But it all depends. A certain Nick Nurse was able to come in and have no problems. But it's about experience potentially. And Nurse has that experience of coaching rather than what we don't see. And when Kyrie comes out and says we don't really have a coach. We don't really need a coach. That changes everything. So the Nets are in a weird dynamic. They have a lot to figure out this season. But on paper, they look like they could shoot the lights out of any team in the league. So we're gonna wait and see. Though? That's the ultimate question.
Also, Steve Nash needs to drop some plays. Like you can't just be, hey, get the ball to Kevin, get the ball to Kyrie, and watch them dribble. Like there's got to be some motions. That is literally the hardest way to get a bucket in the NBA, and it's why you need it for the playoffs. But you don't need it on every play, man. Like there are teams in the NBA that run above average offenses without having any guy near the capability of Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant.
Yep.
So, he's got you would think that a guy who won an MVP, back-to-back MVPs for being
the guy,
a facilitator, for being a floor general, for being a offensive genius. Come on, man! Drop some plays. Go ask Mike D'Antoni and get some tips, bro.
Oh, absolutely. All right, I think we've been mean enough to Nets fans and this Nets team. Let's roll into the Knicks real quick. We can talk about the other New York team for a couple minutes before we get to the real juicy content that we're waiting for.
Bro, do we even have to talk about the Knicks? They're gonna be irrelevant again this year unless RJ Barrett turns into Michael Jordan. This is a last place in the division team. Mitchell Robinson, great. Jalen Brunson, mediocre, man. I like Jalen Brunson. I just don't think he's a needle mover with this squad. After losing Alex Burke, after losing Nerlens Noel, Kemba Walker, Taj Gibson, bruh, I think Isaiah Hartenstein was a really good pickup.
Yep.
Again,
my whole goal was to see if we could get any positivity out of the Knicks, and Isaiah Hartenstein might be it. And hey, Jalen Brunson could be sick. He could be amazing for this team. But he's not Mitchell. He's not Donovan. He's not Kevin Durant. He's
also going to take the ball out of RJ's hand.
Also true, yeah.
You got to. So Jalen's young-ish, even though because he was an older draft pick, even
Mhm.
though he's been in the league for only 4 years or whatever. He's young. He's like 27, I think, young-ish. RJ's actually young. I get that Jalen Brunson is probably the better player right now. But if we give RJ the ball and let him develop, could he be better than Jalen Brunson at Jalen Brunson's age? Definitely. So like New York.
Exactly.
I don't even
Exactly.
want to
We
talk about them,
we
bro.
we
Like I like
moved
the Nets
past it.
way more than I like the Knicks. Jeez.
That's
They're
definitely, I
such a
think, the sentiment.
trash.
I think that's just the sentiment in general about New York right now. People are hoping that the Nets will actually come out and be successful because it could be two sad teams in New York come the end of the year.
Bro, you know you know how bad this roster is? They went out and they got Svi Mihailu. Okay.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's talk about
They
the
went out and
Rams.
got him.
It's
We let
true
him
though.
go. We're paying him. He's on a guaranteed contract, and we were like, nah, you can have him. In division. Don't get
Oh,
nobody cares.
oh, New York. I did miss shouting out Utah, who's playing for the Nets. So I gotta bring that up real quick before we talk about the Raptors. But hey, is it
Utah's a
time?
traitor, man. Bo Cruz, baby.
Yeah, let's talk about the legend himself, the new addition, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. No, in general, though, when it comes to the Raptors, we're excited. We're 2 years
Yeah.
removed from Florida. We are coming off of a Rookie of the Year season. The boys look locked in and primed to go. Media Day was a celebration. I loved hearing from everybody. Scotty looks swole. OG looks swole. Pascal looks confident and ready to step up. Like, there's a lot of good things to think about.
Well, I think the best part for the Raptors is that added year of development for Scotty. The fact that last year in the playoffs we lost Fred Van Vliet for the last couple games, and
Yeah.
it forced us to play a very, very big, tall lineup where Pascal and Scotty got to handle the rock a lot more and the point guard duties. Offensive initiators, as Bobby Webster would like to call it.
Sure.
Um, I think that that's going to be perfect for us. It's going to allow Freddie to do more catch and shoot, which he's an elite NBA player at. It's going to just open up our offense, and I think that we're all very confident. I think OG is going to be a better offensive initiator. Gary Trent. I think Precious is going to be pushing for an all defensive spot this year. I think that's his stated goal is he wants to be an all NBA defender.
Well,
So you look at our roster up and down, and we've got these young budding prospects in Precious, Gary, OG, and Scotty. We've got these two established actual NBA stars.
yeah,
Like, I wouldn't call them superstars, but they're stars. All NBA selections is you're a
yeah,
star, and All Star selection last year you're a star in Freddie and Pascal. And then we've got these great veterans in Thad Young and in Otto Porter Jr. And then some like lottery tickets on Delano Banton, Julian or Justin Champagny, and some of the other boys like Malachi, Paloko, buddy. This is a top four team in the East. Let's
there's
go.
like you hit on so many great points, and I'm like going through my brain. I'm like, I want to talk about this. Talk about this. I want to talk about this. There's so many cool things, Like you talk about Fred getting to be off ball more, and I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to see him be more Seth Curry than Steph Curry. You know what I mean? Like that's what I've been looking for, and Pascal looks so locked in. He talks about how I've been all NBA, I've been an All Star. Well, what's the next goal? I want to be a top 5, 10 player in the league, right? Like he wants to be pushing for
Oh yeah.
MVP votes, but it's the confidence that we want to see under him, right? And then having the team around him with all of these other beautiful places they can go, like you can't not be excited as a Raptors fan, right? Scotty looks jazzed, and the fact that Freddie went down and was injured, and we got to have the opportunity for him and Pascal to hold more, like of course we want to see it. Even Nick is like, yeah, we could totally make this happen more. Like it's gonna be a good season.
The fact that last year offense and skill was going to be Scotty's weakness going into the season, right? Like both of
Yep.
us projected him to have under 10 points a game. Like
Oh God,
honestly,
yeah,
I thought if he averaged 10 points a game, it was going to be good, right?
yeah.
I thought he was going to be a 10-7-7 kind of guy, and that was going to be sick for us, or 10-7-5. And that would have been a great rookie season for the original prospect that we were thinking. And now we've got this guy who averaged 15-7-4 or whatever he averaged and got a full summer of NBA workouts. He of proper coaching, of skill development, of shooting 300 corner shots a day. Like this man, I think is going to explode. I think 2010 and 5 is
Ooh.
well within reason for this man. And if he averages 2010 and 5 and Siakam is pushing for a top 5 conversation or even top 10 conversation, boy, watch out.
Right?
You watch out for them Raptors.
And it's also, it seems that the main pieces are locked in on what matters. And what matters to this team is winning. It's straight up winning. Nurse has said it time and time again. And it looks like people are locked in. It looks like Gary Trent is potentially going to accept the fact that, yeah, I'm in a contract year, but I'm respected in this organization. This organization like actually appreciates me while I'm here. So whether or not I need to go out and prove myself, maybe he doesn't think that way. Maybe he thinks, well, I just need to be the player that the team needs me to be, and it'll all figure itself out from there. Like, that's kind of what my dream for Gary comes. Now, obviously, I can't get in his brain, and I can't know, but you think about the turnaround that Boucher did, how, Thad is thinking, how Precious is thinking. It seems that once you spend enough time in this organization, the mindset gets you in the right place of, we're pushing towards a championship. We're pushing towards winning. We are all in this together. And, like, I'm just so ecstatic for the boys.
Well, I think one of the great things that came out of Media Day and Nick Nurse talking was he was like, goal number 1 is to win. Obviously, we want to win games. We want to win championships. That's goal number 1. Goal 1A is to make sure that every single player that comes into our organization leaves a better player
Yep.
or is furthering their career and reaching higher heights than they expected to make. And I think that right there, that statement as being the number 2 goal for your organization, which is really the number 1 goal, because like winning is a byproduct of doing that, is just such a intelligent way to think about it, right? Like we are constantly trying to develop you. I don't care if you're 35 years old, like that young, and an established NBA vet. We want you to maybe add a skill or fit in here somewhere else. Or if you're Delano Banton, man, and you're trying to figure out where you're going to fit in the NBA hierarchy. Because, like, we just want development. We just want you to get better. And the wins are going to follow, man. And that's what I love about this roster and this team. I would say we're 10 deep.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, do you get excited hearing that Delano Banton from Nurse himself saying that, Delano was as good as anyone else out there in training? Like, do we have a stealthy Canadian boy who's ready to make the roster rotation? Is Koloko potentially going to get 5-10 minutes? Like, we have some really interesting questions that really only bring positives, because if Delano doesn't show up, if Koloko doesn't show up, I mean, I think we're prepared accordingly to survive without them.
Yeah, no, we have definitely insulated ourselves from needing fringe prospects like Malachi, like Delano, like Justin to really pop. We've insulated ourselves from needing that. I mean, if they pop, that's just gravy, right? But what we're really looking for and where we're looking for the pop is from the boys that have been starters, had got us, the number 5 seed in the Eastern Conference last year, that pushed that 76ers team when we were down 3-0 to Game 6. And that's going to be a huge development for this roster. I think about Precious, man. You know how I wanted him in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had made it to the Raptors, the Miami Heat put him in a box and they told him, we only want you to do this. Could you imagine if he had always been with the Raptors, how much further along he might be in his development? We could be like, this year where he ends this year. It could be the start of this year, So I'm just excited for the boys. I think, honestly, we're so big throughout our entire lineup. We don't have one monster, but we've got 5 monsters on the floor at all times, minus Fred VanVleet. But hey, man, I like it. I like our roster construction. I think that I like the way our guys think, our executives.
And also, like, I look at Otto Porter as, like, is it the best free agent signing the Raptors have made in the time that we've been paying attention? Probably. Like, he's got the right veteran mentality. I think that he's going to do wonders for guys like Koloko and Banton and Flynn, because, I mean, I don't know how true this is. This is just in my research. But according to Golden State fan base, Otto was the 15th guy brought into the roster last season. He was the last member of their team that was accepted at the end of training camp. And then he went on to be almost a starter in the NBA Finals for them. So, I mean, like, I think that he is a great veteran presence, and for him and Thad to be basically best friends, like, there is some serious positives that are going to come out of this signing, and to have an NBA champion free agent, not an amazing star level talent, but a veteran NBA champion to join us and talk about how the similarities exist between the two franchises. What else more do I say?
Buddy, I honestly, I'm so excited for this team. I'm so excited for our plug and play. I think shooting was our biggest weakness last year, and I think with Juancho, with Otto, we've kind of addressed that a little bit more.
Yep.
Hopefully Justin takes a step. Hopefully Delano, and we get just more baseline shooting from our starters. Like let's say Scotty develops a little bit more. Precious, who ended the year shooting 36% almost. Let's say he shoots
Yeah.
40% for the full season, right? Like we've got so much developmental potential that's why I love what they did. They didn't, go all in on Kevin Durant. They didn't try to blow up our roster. They didn't try to get a big free agent. They said to themselves, we've got potential. Let's see where it is. Let's see what our ceiling can be with these guys, and then work accordingly from there. Once we have a little bit more of a clearer defined picture, because at the moment, like we are as murky as it gets in terms of hierarchy. Like we, you know, God forbid, knock on wood, nothing bad happens to our team. But if, injury to Pascal here, Fred there, Scotty, God forbid, bite my tongue, things could go bad. But, just like any team. But hey, we could shock a lot of teams and maybe even come first in the Eastern Conference, man.
There's enough talent to plug and play with all the guys locked in as the way they are. And we talk about the off ball, right? If Fred gets to play 5 minutes a game, less a night, he's got a little bit more lift in his shots. If Gary locks in and is like, I'm gonna be the off ball shooter for this squad, while also being a cutter, the way that we know he can be, like like we could speculate for hours, for days, for months, because we have this invested team, these guys who have been here for enough for a while, that if you as a fan base have been paying attention, we know where they can all go. We're waiting for it. Meanwhile, there's also OG, who we've barely even talked about, which I'm sure we'll get into in the future. But I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. Preseason is around the corner, and we're going to get to see the boys play.
Buddy, apparently OG's been looking absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait for the season to start, man. Do you want to go into some Mystic predictions? Because I guess that was all Raptors chat.
Yeah, I think we've hit the end of this episode. I mean, like I said, we could talk about the Raptors for days, but we would just be beating a dead horse. The same topic over and over, how we love how Scotty is pumped, how we love how the boys are there. But I think it's time for predictions, my friend. And let me lead the way, all right? Because the past few years I've been down on this franchise, and they have never been able to make it past the hump. It started with Kawhi, but it continued with everything else. But I'm looking at the 76ers, man. We talked about how good they are, and I thought about this before the episode began, and I think you convinced me. They're going to be the top of the East. Hopefully it's a little bit of bad mojo, but I could see it happening.
Dude, you know what? I had them at the pretty top tier of the East last year, and they look like they've gotten better. So I ain't gonna fight you on it, man. I hate it, but
Yep.
I'm actually going to go with the Nets. I think that people not watching them, people kind of sleeping on them, Kevin Durant being disrespected, Kyrie Irving wanting to prove that he's still Kyrie Irving, and now not having any COVID, issues or whatever.
Yeah.
Look for this team to win 60 games, man. Like honestly, we'll look for them to shut people down and make them stop talking, because it's Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, man, and Ben Simmons literally just has to be the level of Ben Simmons that we've seen, and they're good. So
I mean, if he gets anywhere close back to I'm sorry, we almost talked about him as a defensive player of the year candidate. If even just that part of his game potentially comes back, the Nets are going to be scary, man. I feel like we both just chose like our both dark horse contenders on the opposites and swapped it there for our predictions. But hey, we can't just sit out here and say the Raptors are going to be amazing, because I mean we know it, but we don't want any bad mojo.
Yeah, buddy. I thought about putting it in there. I just didn't want to jinx it.
All right, we'll
The
have a
curse
little
loves
fun.
the curse loves when I say something about the Raptors. It jumps on it, man. It always does.
The curse has been asleep all summer, and it's about to come back and smack us across the face. So curse, just go to sleep for a little bit longer. We don't need you yet.
Why are you enticing it like that?
All right, my guy. Anything else
Inviting it
this
back
week?
into my life.
Oh
Nah, man,
yeah.
you're good. You can wrap us up.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Not you, Curse. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up. And check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.